Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Yashala and world. My name is Brother Ezekiel, and this is
Brother Lee.
and we're here today to read through more of the laws today to give understanding and to bring back the culture and the guidance what the Most High have given us, and this is what Christ taught on as well. So we're bringing this all around, and like I said before in many videos, this is to give order back to our people and stuff because there's a lot of disputing going on. There's a lot of fighting. Brothers still, sisters still having curses on them, having wicked, evil eyes towards one another and things like that. So we're going through these laws that need to be incorporated into our whole way of thinking and everything, our walk and our culture and stuff, because this is our culture. And I just have to make one little correction of last video. At 16 minutes and 45 seconds, I got to make a correction. I said that when we were talking about ringing the pigeon or the turtle dove's neck for the sin offering and things, I said that you couldn't break any of the bones and things like that or chop them up in pieces. I stand corrected because back in Exodus it does say for whoever's bringing a sin offering, that man who's doing bringing a sin offering, they have to slay the animal and then they chop it up in pieces in a way that it's supposed to be formed, while the priests, the sons of Aaron, catch the blood and they do all the other things. So I stand corrected on that. So forgive me for saying that. So that was for the last lesson. At I'm just correction of that at 16 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay. So we're going to begin today in Leviticus 12, chapter 12, verse 1 through 2, which is the next law. So go ahead, Doc.
Leviticus chapter 12, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed, and born a man-child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, according to the days of the separation for her infirmity, shall she be unclean.
So 7 days as soon as a child is born, she shall be unclean. So with that being said, brothers that y'all out there, when you're going through these hospitals and your wife is giving birth and things, I've seen it all over videos. Brothers are sitting in the pool with them while the blood is coming out and things like that. You is not supposed to be touching your wife and things at that time, okay? You're not even supposed to be in that stuff. That custom comes from a custom of the other nations and stuff. When the scriptures completely said, do not follow the ways and customs of the Gentiles, for they are vain. Okay, so don't do that. But anyways, it's letting you know after 7 days she's unclean, but it's going to tell you that she's even unclean for the healing process of after the pregnancy and things like that. But go ahead. Oh wait. The next law, verse 3.
Leviticus chapter 12, verse 3. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised.
So this is dealing with a man-child, a male. Okay, now when she bore as a daughter, that's a different law. But according to this, on the 8th day, every male child has to be circumcised. Okay, so that's the next law. Let's get the next one, verse 4.
And she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days.
33 days.
33 days. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary, until the days of her purifying be fulfilled.
So even during the times of, brothers or sisters coming together for, if you guys are congregating, you're going through the word and things, she can't come amongst y'all. You know what I'm saying? So you need to, well, it says the sanctuary, okay? But still, it's like she's unclean, so you don't want to have, that in the midst of the congregation. So just let her stay at home or whatever she's dealing with, according to her uncleanliness until it's fully done. So 33 days is basically her healing process as well. But go ahead. Verse 5.
Isaiah chapter 12, verse 5.
It's the next law.
But if she bear a maid child,
that means a daughter. Go ahead.
Then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation. And she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days.
Which is, I think it's at 63 days. Yeah. So 63 days is when she's going through her purification. That's dealing with a daughter. Okay, so the first one was the male, and then the second one says a maid. That means a daughter, a girl being born and things like that.
That's actually 66 days. The score is 20.
Okay, yeah, you're right. There you go, Elder. 66 days. Where did we leave off at? 7 or 6? Okay, yeah, just read that again.
Read it 5 again?
No, just start at verse 6, I'm sorry.
Isaiah chapter 12, verse 6. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled, for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or turtle dove for a sin offering, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priest.
So, like I said, it's giving an offering back to the Father, basically saying thank you, and then also to clarify or purify what she went through and things like that, to, give her purification and things like that. So it's all in an order why you have to do these things. So it tells you male or female at that time what you have to give up, but then it tells you the different cleansing stages and weeks of how long a woman would be cleansed, or unclean until, after giving childbirth. That was the next law, which was verse 6 through 7. Let's jump to verse 8 is the next law.
Isaiah chapter 12, verse 8. And if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtles, or 2 young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering, and the other for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be clean.
So 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons. So it's letting you know these are the things that you have to do. Like if she has the lamb, to give as the offering and things, then she has to give that. But if she doesn't have that, then they have to give to the doves or the pigeons. Okay, so it's basically like saying if you're like rich, what I'm saying, like if you have the substance to give, you're supposed to give it. If you don't have those, then give what you can give, which in this case is to the dove or the pigeon. Okay. Let's get the next law, chapter 13 and verse 1 through 3.
Isaiah chapter 13, or Leviticus chapter 13, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, When a man shall have in the skin of his flesh arising a scab or bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh like a plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priest. And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. And the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean.
So we're getting into the stages of how you're supposed to cleanse leprosy or plagues or whatever type of disease that it's going through and things like that. So basically the priesthood are like the physician right now. So this is what they will do. They will look at it. They will find out what's going on, whatever the case may be, so they could deal with the matter at hand. Okay. Verse 4 through 6 is the next law.
Leviticus chapter 13, verse 4. If the bright spot be white in the skin of the flesh, and in the sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague 7 days.
So a jubilee until Salakia, 1 second. No, Elder, Hello. Hey, Shalom, Aki, I'm actually teaching right now. If you want to come on through if you got the address, bro. You got to look at your text. It's 3845 North 38. Okay. Salakia, y'all. Can you read that again, bro?
Yeah. Leviticus chapter 13, verse 4. If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and in sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague 7 days.
So 7 days, this is Jubilee. So, the cycle of completion and stuff, okay? So that's how they should be shut up for 7 days, dealing with whatever the issue may be, so they can be cleansed. But let's get the next law, verse 7.
Leviticus chapter 13, verse 7. But if the scab spread much abroad in the skin, after that he hath been seen of the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen of the priest again. And if the priest see that, behold...
No, that's it on that. So it's just like, go ahead, read it.
And if the priest... Leviticus chapter 13, verse 8. And if the priest see that, behold, the scab spreadeth in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprosy. So
it's telling you what the situation is, so they could tell that this isn't a regular, skin problem. It's not like acne or whatever the case may be. It's letting you know this is actually a leopard. So you cannot be around leopards when this is going on. That's why the Most High said when we came into the land of Canaan to get rid of all those things, because even the idols, the houses, the money, all these different things, they were unclean. So that's why he said to get rid of it and things like that. But this is why we're dealing with the whole thing of leprosy. Excuse me. The next law, which is verse 9. 9 through 17 is the whole the different conditions of leprosy. Okay? Go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 13, verse 9. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall see him. And behold, if the rising be white in the skin, and it have turned the hair white, and there be quick raw flesh in the rising, it is an old leprosy in the skin of his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall not shut him up, for he is unclean.
So this is an old leprosy. So this one cannot be shut up. Okay, and I'll explain why it's not supposed to be shut up. Go ahead, keep reading.
And if a leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that hath the plague from his head, even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. It is all turned white. He is clean.
Mm-hmm.
But when raw flesh appeareth in him, he shall be unclean. And the priest shall see the raw flesh, and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean. It is leprosy. Or if the raw flesh turn again, and be changed unto white, he shall come unto the priest, and the priest shall see him, and behold, if the plague be turned into white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. He is clean.
Mm-hmm. So it's just telling you the different ordinances of how you pronounce a leopard, clean or unclean, spotted or unspotted, or whatever the case may be. So you have to just pay attention to this one. The priesthood had to sit here and examine the body and stuff so they could give the right pronouncement. Because if they don't, and he let these people go back out into dealing with everybody else, the plague will spread like crazy. So you got to quarantine it, okay, in modern terms today. Let's get the next law, which is verse 18.
Isaiah chapter 13, verse 18. The flesh also in which, even in the skin thereof, was a boil, and is healed. And in the place of the boil there be a white rising, or a bright spot, white, and somewhat reddish, and it be shewed to the priest. And if, when the priest seeth it, behold, it be in the sight lower than the skin, and the hair thereof be turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy broken out of the boil. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hairs therein, and if it be not lower than the skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And if it spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague. But if the bright spot stay in his place, and spread not, it is a burning boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean.
So basically saying, like, if you got a pimple and stuff, or, you know, like, or they say a boil, if it's pussing and things like that, if it's not that color how it says it goes all over the body and stuff, then you're clean. But if it goes all over and things like that, then it's talking about you're unclean, you're a leper. Okay, let's get the next law, which is verse 24. So it's like I said, it's telling you all the different stages of leprosy or just regular body problems, you know, just skin problems. Okay, well, go ahead.
Isaiah chapter 13. Leviticus. I keep saying it there. Leviticus chapter 13, verse 24. Or if there be any flesh in the skin whereof there is a hot burning, and the quick flesh that burneth have a white bright spot, somewhat reddish or white, then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot be turned white, and it be in sight deeper than the skin, it is a leprosy broken out of the burning. Wherefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hair in the bright spot, and it being no lower than the other skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And the priest shall look upon him the 7th day, and if it be spread much abroad the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. And if the bright spot stay in its place, and spread not in the skin, but it be somewhat dark, it is a rising of the burning, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is an inflammation of the burning.
See? So, you know, it can't just be like, oh man, he's a leper because he got a little boil here or a pimple or whatever the case may be. You gotta see the details, okay? You gotta understand what is what when you're examining somebody's body. Just like you got doctors today who could tell, you know, like, oh, it's just an inflammation and stuff. It's just, you know, a rash or something like that, you know. But whatever the case may be, like, it's telling you the coordinates of how you're supposed to deal with this as being a priest amongst the sons of Aaron. This is how you look at things. So it's good for all of us to know, even though I may not be a Levite. You know, like I said, I believe I'm from Yahweh because it's my dad, you know, but still it's good to know these things, okay? Because you may not know. I might be, you know, the sons of Aaron. He might be the sons of Aaron, or Elder might be one of the sons of Aaron. We need to know these things because guess what? When we come in, most high willing, we make it into the kingdom, we will have this already like in our minds, like, okay, we already know what to do. I remember, you know, so all these things we'll have in the kingdom and things like that, but everything be put in its proper order when Hamashiach returns and things like that. So let's get the next law, verse 29.
Leviticus chapter 13, verse 29. If a man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be the sight deeper than the skin, and there it be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scall, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. And if the priest look on the plague of the scall, and behold, it be not in sight deeper than the skin, and that there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague of the skull 7 days.
So it sounds like blonde hair to me. No, okay. But anyway, these are the things you gotta pay attention to. So yo man, you got snaps, you got a yellow in there. I see it. No, I'm just messing with you guys.
It's a gray hair.
Yeah, it's white, so you good. So, you know, but you know, all jokes aside, so these are the things you got to look for amongst our beard and things like that, and you know, it tells you to order what we're going to do if we do have those things. But go ahead.
And in the 7th day the priest shall look unto the plague. Behold, If the skull spread not, and there be in it no yellow hair, and the skull be not in sight deeper than the skin, he shall be shaven, but the skull shall he not shave. And the priest shall shut up him that hath the skull 7 days more. And in the 7th day the priest shall look on the skull, and behold, if the skull be not spread in the skin, nor be in sight deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. And he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the skull spread much in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look on him, and behold, if the skull be spread in the skin, the priest shall not seek for yellow hair, he is unclean. But if the skull be in his sight at a stay, and there is a black hair grown up therein, the skull is healed, he is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean.
So stop right there. So you know, these are the order of things that you have to do dealing with plagues and leprosy and things like that, especially with the men. Okay. Let's get the next law here. Now this is talking about basically people with freckles and things like that. But go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 13, verse 38. If a man also or a woman have in the skin of their flesh bright spots, even white bright spots, then the priest shall look, and, behold, if the bright spots of the skin of the flesh be darkish white, it is a freckled spot that groweth in the skin, he is clean. And the man whose hair is fallen off his head, he is bald, yet is he clean. And he hath his hair fallen off from the part of his head toward his face, he is forehead bald.
Wait, stop right there. Salaki, I'm sorry, I should have stopped you at the part where it's talking about the freckles. But that's the law dealing with freckles and things like that. Now we're getting into the law about the bald head or the forehead bald and stuff. So that's why I wear this. But anyways, let's keep going. Let's start back at verse 40 again. I'm sorry.
Leviticus chapter 13, verse 40. And the man whose hair is fallen off his head, he is bald, yet is he clean. And he that hath his hair fallen off from the part of his head toward his face, he is forehead bald.
Shut up, man.
Yet is he clean. And if there be the bald head or bald forehead, a white reddish sore, it is a leprosy sprung up in his bald head or his bald forehead. Then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the rising of the sore be white reddish in his bald head or in his bald forehead, as a leprosy appeareth in the skin of the flesh, he is a leprous man, he is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him utterly unclean. His plague is in his head. And the leper in whom the plague is, his clothes shall be rent, and his head bare. And he shall put a covering upon his upper lip, and shall cry, Unclean, unclean. All the days wherein the plague shall be in him, he shall be defiled. He is unclean. He shall dwell alone without the camp, shall his habitation be.
Okay, so that's letting you know they had to stay outside the camp, right, amongst Israel, because you can't, spread it amongst everybody and things like that. That's why it says they put a veil on and be like, I'm unclean, like, don't touch me, stay away from me and stuff. Even though it's your loved one and stuff, still, you got to put your emotions in check.
Mm-hmm.
He or she is unclean, so let them be until they're done being unclean and stuff, until they get healed and stuff, okay? So, that's just letting you know. Like I said, these are all little detailed things. But let's get the next law here, which is verse 47.
Leviticus chapter 13, verse 47. The garment also that the plague of the leprosy is in, wherein it be woolen garment or linen garment, whether it be in the warp or woof of linen, or of woolen, whether in a skin or in anything made of skin, and in the plague be greenish or reddish in the garment, or in the skin, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in anything of skin, it is a plague of leprosy, and shall be showed unto the priest. And the priest shall look upon the plague, and shut up it that hath the plague 7 days. And he shall look on the plague on the seventh day. If the plague be spread in the garment, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in the skin, or in any work that is made of skin, the plague is threatening leprosy, and it is unclean. He shall therefore burn the garment, whether warp or woof, in woolen or in linen, or anything of skin, whether the plague is, for it is a fretting leprosy. It shall be burnt in the fire. And if the priest shall look, and behold, the plague be not spread in the garment, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in anything of skin, then the priest shall command that they wash the thing wherein the plague is, and he shall shut it up 7 days more. And the priest shall look on the plague after that it is washed, and behold, if the plague have not changed his color, and the plague be not spread, it is unclean. Thou shalt burn it in the fire. It is fret inward, whether it be bare within or without. And if the priest look, and behold, the plague be somewhat dark after the washing of it, then he shall rend it out of the garment, or out of the skin, or out of the warp, or out of the woof. And if it appear still in the garment, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in anything of the skin, it is a spreading plague. Thou shalt burn that wherein the plague is with fire. And the garment either warp, or woof, or whatsoever thing of skin it be, which thou shalt wash, if the plague be departed from them, then it shall be washed the second time, and it shall be clean. This is the law of the plague of leprosy, in a garment of woolen or linen, either in warp or woof, or anything of skin, to pronounce it clean, or to pronounce it unclean.
All right, so right here, this is letting you know all the things. Your clothes got leprosy, you got to get it burnt. You got to burn it, wash it, whatever the case may be, as it tells you in the ordinance of how to do these things. Mind you, if you're paying attention to what's being read here, this is what Christ was doing to us in the first place. That's why he said to go baptize in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in water, in living waters, meaning, somewhere in a lake, pond, ocean, river, things like that. So you could cleanse yourself. And then the second baptism is with fire. That's why Christ said, when you come back, you shall have a garment, a garment of white and things like that. It's clean. You know what I'm saying? Then your soul, or, when you're going through, when he baptized you with fire, that's to burn up any other little thing that's inside, yourself and things, because nothing unclean will enter into that kingdom. Okay? Nothing that will cause abomination or any of those other things. That's the saying of what Christ was saying, why you should go through these steps and things like that. Okay? So this is how you compare, like I said, in other lessons right now, I'll say this a billion times, this is just going through the laws. Those meat lessons is for later. They'll come in and I'll pinpoint to show you why we're supposed to do these things, okay? So that's why it's important now to know these laws, so you could put this to yourself, so you get the practicing going, but you're also, in the same sense, you're doing exactly what Yeshua, or some say Yahushua or Jesus Christ, told us what we need to do. It leads all the way back to the main foundation, the root, which is the law, the Torah. Okay, so that's why we're going through these things. Anyways, let's get let's start the next law on cleansing, basically cleansing the house of leprosy, which is chapter 14, verse 1 through 32.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, This shall be the law of the leper in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought unto a priest, and the priest shall go forth out of the camp, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the plague of leprosy be healed in the leper, then shall the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed, 2 birds, alive and clean, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop.
Okay, so hyssop. So this goes back into the reason why you use hyssop when you dip the hyssop in the blood of the Passover, of the lamb, and things like that. It's to purify, it's to cleanse the blood and things. This is the same exact stuff that we need to be doing. Well, according to this time, because we don't have the priesthood, to do these things of the sacrifice. So don't, anybody watching this, don't, I'm not sitting there telling you to go get you a couple of turtle doves and start dipping them and then, sacrificing them and stuff like that. You're not supposed to do that, because once again, in the book of Malachi, the priesthood fell off and things, and then it tells you in other scriptures that we will be without a priesthood for a long time. That's why Christ was sent, and he did the things that he had to do. So we don't do those sacrifices anymore. Okay, so like I said, this is all for understanding. I know what we can and cannot do according to the laws. Okay, so let's get this.
Scarlet and hyssop also have antibacterial properties as well too.
Yeah,
healing properties. So
see, so
I mean, it's more than just
right.
You know what I mean? Some magic,
right?
That people are thinking.
Yep, but reread that part again.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 4. Then the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 birds alive and clean, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in earthen vessel over running water. As for the living bird, he shall take it, and the cedar wood, and the scarlet, and the hyssop, and shall dip them in the living bird, in the blood of the bird that was killed over the running water, and he shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean. And shall let the living bird loose into the open field. And he that is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, and shave off all his hair, and wash himself in water, that he may be clean. And after that he shall come into the camp, and shall tarry abroad out of his tent 7 days. But it shall be on the 7th day that he shall shave all of his hair off of his head, and his beard, and his eyebrows, even all of his hair, he shall shave off. And he shall wash his clothes. Also he shall wash his flesh in water, and he shall be clean.
See, so all these things you have to do in order to be clean and things. So that's why, like I was telling cats, some people, well, you ain't supposed to shave your beard. Okay, so what if that brother is following this, and little to your knowledge, do you even know that he's keeping the law? Like, he's dealing with something. He can see this. And let's say you went to the doctors and say, well, this is a form of such and such, or whatever the case may be. And we understand that it's leprosy. So he's being cleansed in a way. The only way he could do it is go through the process, wash now, and then to shave off all his hair and his beard and stuff to be cleansed. So that's the only time a man can shave, this fully off, and this completely off, this completely off, and this completely off. Okay, so just giving that. But keep reading.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 10. And on the 18th day he shall take.
No, on the 8th day.
And on the 8th day he shall take 2 he lambs without blemish, and 1 ewe lamb of the first year without blemish, and 3/10 deals of fine flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, and 1 log of oil. And the priest that maketh him clean shall present the man that it is to be made clean, and those things, before the Lord, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall take 1 he lamb, an offering for him trespass offering, and the log of oil, and wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall slay the lamb in the place where he shall kill the sin offering, and the burnt offering in the holy place. For as the sin offering is the priest, so is the trespass offering. It is most holy. And the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and the priest shall put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall take some of the log of oil, and pour it into the palm of his own left hand, and the priest shall dip his right finger in the oil that is in his left hand, and shall sprinkle of the oil with his finger 7 times before the Lord. And of the rest of the oil that is in his hand shall the priest put upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of the right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, upon the blood of the trespass offering, and the remnant of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall pour upon the head of him that is to be cleansed. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord, and the priest shall offer the sin of the offering, and make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed from his uncleanliness, and afterwards he shall kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the meat of the offering upon the altar, and the priest shall make an atonement for him, and he shall be clean.
So stop right there. So this whole step that we're going through, that's why it's putting the blood on the tip of his ear with the oil, and that's olive oil and things, and then to pour it upon the man's head and things. That's the reason why Christ was doing these things also in the New Testament. Those are the steps that's shown and prove that Christ was atoning for us. That's why I said when it sheds his blood, that's for the atonement for our people. So it's not just saying that, when we hear people say, well, Christ died for your sins. No, he didn't. He's atoning. That's why I said before in other videos. There's a difference between atoning and just dying, because then that contradicts the fact that the scripture says that every man shall die for his own iniquity and stuff. Okay, no other man could, stand, die for another man's iniquity. No, you're going to die for your own iniquity. This man atoned for us. The Most High's beloved Son, Hamashiach Yeshua, or some say Yahweh or Yeshua or Jesus Christ. That's what he did. He atoned. Okay, so this is why we could see back and forth, or I can at least, not to boast, but in the laws of what we're seeing here, this is how he atoned for the nation of Israel's sins, and to those who, the other nations that want to follow the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Christ. Okay, so these are the things that we had to do. All right, but verse 21, keep going.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 21. And if he be poor and cannot get so much, then he shall take 1 lamb for a trespass offering to be waved, to make an atonement for him, and 1/10 deal of fine flour mingled with oil, for a meat offering, and a log of oil, and 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, such as he is able to get, and one shall be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering. And he shall bring them unto the 8th day for his cleansing unto the priest, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, before the Lord. And the priest shall take the lamb of the trespass offering and log of oil, and the priest shall wave them for a wave offering for the Lord, before the Lord. And he shall kill the lamb of the trespass offering, and the priest shall take some of the blood, of the trespass offering, and put it on the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall pour of the oil into the palm of his own left hand. And the priest shall sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is in his left hand 7 times before the Lord. The priest shall put of the oil that is in his hand upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. Upon the place of the blood of the trespass offering, and the rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand, he shall put it on the head of him that is to be cleansed, to make an atonement for him before the Lord. And he shall offer the one of the turtle doves, or one of the young pigeons, such as he can get, even such as he is able to get, one for the sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, with the meat offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed before the Lord. This is the law of him in whom is the plague of leprosy, whose hand is not able to get that which pertaineth to his cleansing.
So right here, So all the stuff that we're going through and everything that we're supposed to be doing these things, we have to go, we have to deal with this, and according to that, according to the in the New Testament, there was a time where Christ healed a leper, and he told that man to once he was cleansed, he said, "Go take yourself to the priest and present thyself and give the things in the manner and the order of what needs to be taken care of and things." So Christ was still keeping the laws, and he was teaching the laws regardless. Back in the book of Matthew, I believe, where he cleansed the leper and stuff, but he told him to take the manner of what you need to do to show the priesthood, like, okay, I'm cleansed and everything, and here you go, so they could continue to give an offering back onto the Most High. Okay, so once again, it's telling you this is exactly what was the blueprint, why Christ was down here and why he atoned. Okay, start saying, getting it in your mind, atone, not dying, atoning for Israel to have grace, which is a time clock to get us right with the Most High, to get us back in order before that time is up. You dig? So let's get the next law, verse 33 through 57.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 33. And the Lord spake unto Moses unto Aaron, saying, When ye come unto the land of the Canaan, which I give to you for a possession, and I put in the plague of leprosy in the house of the land of your possession, and he that owneth the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, It seemeth to me that there is as it were a plague in the house. Then the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priests go into it to see the plague, that all that is in the house be not made unclean, and afterward the priest shall go in to see the house, and he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls of the house, with hollow strakes, greenish or reddish, with its sight are lower than the wall, then the priest shall go out into the house of the door of the house, and shut up the house 7 days. And the priest shall come again the seventh day, and shall look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the walls of the house, pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the priest shall offer one.
No, bro.
No.
All the way.
I went
Verse 40. Verse 40.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Then the priest shall command that they take away the stones in which the plague is, and they shall cast them into an unclean place without the city. And he shall cause the house to be scraped within the round about, and they shall pour out the dust that scrape off without the city into an unclean place. And they shall take other stones, and put them in the place of the stones. And he shall take other mortar, and shall plaster the house. And if the plague come again, and break out in the house, after that he hath taken away the stones, and after he hath scraped the house, and after it is plastered, then the priest shall come and look. And behold, if the plague be spread in the house, it is a fretting leprosy in the house, it is unclean. And he shall break down the house. And he shall break down the house, the stones of it, and the timber thereof, and all the mortar of the house, and he shall carry them forth out of the city into an unclean place. Moreover, he that goeth in the house, all the while that it is shut up, shall be unclean until the even. And he that lieth in the house shall wash his clothes, and he that eateth in the house shall wash his clothes. And if the priest shall come in and look upon it, and behold, the plague hath not spread in the house, after the house was plastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house unclean, or house clean, because the plague is healed. And he shall take to cleanse the house 2 birds, cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop, and he shall kill the one of the birds in the earthen vessel over running water. And he shall take the cedar wood, and the hyssop, and the scarlet, and the living bird, and dip them in the blood of the slain bird, and in the running water, and sprinkle the house 7 times, and he shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, and with the running water, and with the living bird, and with the cedar wood, and with the hyssop, and with the scarlet. But he shall go, the living bird, out of the city into the open field, and make an atonement for the house, and it shall be clean. This is the law for all manner of plague of leprosy and scall, and for the leprosy of the garment, and of the house, and for the rising, and for the scab, and for the bright spot, to teach when it is unclean, and what is clean. This is the law of leprosy.
Okay, so if we're calling ourselves priests and things out there in a sense of Melchizedek, having that issue, then okay, maybe you need to be knowing these things before you move into a home and stuff. You just dwelling in a house and not even knowing you're living in a leopard house and stuff. Okay, so men, if you're calling yourself priests and things, go out here and do these things. Okay, you need to be doing that. All right, so if we're taking on that priesthood, we being kings and priests, as everybody's saying according to the scriptures, then these are the things you need to be doing that. Okay, and I know there's some brothers out there that's actually doing it, and they're doing it according to the law. So, this is what we all need to do in things. So, but anyways, so we just dealt with the understanding of leprosy and everything. Let's jump to the next law, which is Leviticus chapter 15, and we'll start at verse 1 through 15.
Leviticus chapter 15, verse 1.
And this is dealing with, basically sex and things like that, okay?
And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue he is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanliness in his issue, whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue. It is his uncleanliness. Every bed whereon he lieth that hath the issue is unclean, and everything wherein he sitteth shall be unclean. And whoever so toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And he that sitteth on anything wherein he sat that hath the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in the water, and be unclean until the even. And he that toucheth the flesh of him that hath the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if he that hath the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that hath the issue shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth anything that was under him shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And whomsoever he toucheth that hath the issue, and hath not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And the vessel of the earth, and he shall toucheth with hath the issue, shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, and for us, Leviticus 15, verse 15. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering, and other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord for his issue. And if any man see...
Now, hold on one second. So, this whole issue, it depends on what issue it's talking about. It could be many different things, okay? So, you got to look at it in the context of what it's dealing with, okay? So, it's not just only talking about sex and things like that, but it's basing it off of certain issues that man may be going through. It could be anything, maybe it could be an STD or something, whatever the case may be.
Scabies.
So, right, any of those things. So you got to be mindful of what it's talking about. But now it's going to get into talking about sex and things. Okay, so verse, what was it, 16? Yeah, go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 15, verse 16. And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the even. And every garment and every skin whereof in the seed of copulation shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the even.
So right there. So this is dealing with the whole man issue, number one, and then the copulation of basically, having intercourse and things like that. This is what you're supposed to do. So, some women be like, man, you're talking only about the women and stuff. We're all unclean and things, So, no, you're getting on the man first. See, it goes for the man, then to the woman, So, all this stuff is how, is being dealt with. So, now it's going to get into the women, okay? So, go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 15, verse 17.
No, 18.
Verse 18.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean until the even. And if
excuse me. So I'm sorry. That was still part of the. That was the law of 16 through 18 when it's dealing with sex for men and women. I'm sorry, but this is the next law now. Now it's getting into the women. Go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 15, verse 19. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the even. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if it be on her bed, or on anything wherein she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the even. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him,
this is talking about her period. Go ahead.
He shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed wherein he lieth shall be unclean. And if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanliness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. Every bed wherein she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation, and whosoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean. Let me read that over. Leviticus chapter 15, verse 26. Every bed wherein she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation, and whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean, as the uncleanliness of her separation. And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take unto her 2 turtles, or 2 young pigeons, excuse me, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the priest shall offer one for offering, and the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanliness. Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanliness, that they die not in their uncleanliness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. This is the law of him that hath an issue, and of him whose seed goeth from him, and who is defiled therewith, and of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that hath an issue, of the man, and of the woman, and of him that lieth with her that is unclean.
So all this stuff is dealing with, like it says, the uncleanliness of man and woman and stuff. That's why it tells you you cannot even come into the tabernacle to be dealing with these things. Because then if you come in into the sanctuary of those things, then you're defiling it. Okay, so you have to be cleansed before you can come into the sanctuary and stuff. If you have any issues, you cannot come in. Okay, so if you come in and you have these issues and you keep it on low key, you're defiling it. That's the part where they're committing sin. That's breaking the covenant, or the law, statute, and commandments. So that's where it comes in. It's not talking about where you're not supposed to, if you're married, not have sex with your wife anymore and things like that. That's not what it's talking about. That's talking about if you're purposely unclean and you got issues coming out of your body, whether it's man or a woman, and you keep this confiled in, and you come into the sanctuary, into the tabernacle and stuff, where is the holy places, you defile the holy places. So therefore, that's what the atonement is for. You purposely did that, so you're breaking the laws, okay? Which is sin, which is transgression of the laws, okay? Let's jump to, you know what? Actually, because this is the whole chapter is dealing on the scapegoat and everything. It's 56 minutes in. Yeah, we'll go into it. Yeah, let's go ahead. Chapter 16. So we're going to deal with the scapegoat, basically dealing with what you have to bring in for the sin offering, and then you draw lots for both of the goats. One is supposed to be slain, and then the other is supposed to be let go into the wilderness. But all right, but go ahead, go.
Leviticus chapter 16, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord spake unto Moses after the death of the two sons of Aaron, when they offered before the Lord and died. And the Lord said unto Moses, Speak unto Aaron thy brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat, which is upon the ark, that he die not. For I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat.
So even Aaron and the other priesthood, they couldn't just walk into the tabernacle whenever they felt like it. Okay, that's why it says very closely, come not at all times in the holy place within the veil. Okay, before the mercy seat. So even if Aaron did that, he would have been put to death by the Most High. Just like his two sons were when they brought up that strange fire onto the Most High and things. That's why the Most High put them to death. You have to follow these things detailed and everything. That's why when we're doing this walk, you got to be walking on eggshells for the Most High, because everything that you're doing is being counted against you, okay? For what you say, what you don't say, what you do, and what you don't do. So this is why we say this is very serious. And the churches, they don't teach these things, okay? Not all, but majority, even around the world, religion is not going to teach you this. Like we said again, the Bible has nothing to do with Christianity, okay? This is a culture book for a certain people, which is the so-called blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, and Polynesians, Aborigines of Australia, we are the 12 tribes of Israel, okay? So we have to come back to this and get this thorough understanding, okay? But go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 16, verse 3. Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh. When he shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with the linen mitre, shall he be attired. These are holy garments, therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. And he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for the sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering.
So this is for the whole congregation of the children of Israel, not only for them, but also for himself. So these are laws. This is one whole law for himself and what he has to do to atone for the whole nation of Israel. Okay, go ahead.
And he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. And Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and to make atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle and of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats.
So drawing straws, basically, which one is going to be slain.
1 lot for the Lord, and the other for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell, and offer him for a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord, to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness. And Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. And he shall take a censer full of burning coals of fire from off of the altar before the Lord, and his hands full of the sweet incense, beaten small, and bring it within the veil. And he shall put the incense upon the fire before the Lord, that the crowd of the incense may cover the mercy seat that is upon the testimony, that he die not. And he shall take the blood of the bullock and sprinkle it with his finger upon the mercy seat eastward, and before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger 7 times. Then he shall kill the goat of the sin offering that is for the people, and bring his blood within the veil, and do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it upon the mercy seat, and before the mercy seat. And he shall make an atonement for the holy place, because of the uncleanliness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions in all their sins. And he shall do for the tabernacle of the congregation that remaineth among them in the midst of their uncleanliness.
This is what Christ did. You got to get that understanding in the New Testament. It's the reason why you need to be reading these laws to get that thorough understanding. But keep reading.
And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation, when he goeth in to make an atonement in the holy place, until he come out, and have made an atonement for himself, and for his household, and for all the congregation of Israel.
See that? For the whole nation of Israel, he atoned for. Go ahead.
And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord, and make an atonement for it, and shall take the blood of the bullock, and the blood of the goat, and put it on the horns of the altar round about. And he shall sprinkle of the blood upon it with his finger 7 times, and cleanse it, and hallow it from the uncleanliness of the children of Israel. And when he hath made an end of the reconciling the holy place, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and the altar, he shall bring the live goat, and Aaron shall lay both his hands upon his head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions, and all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. And the goat shall bear upon him all the iniquities unto the land not inhabited, and shall be let go of the goat in the wilderness. And Aaron shall come into the tabernacle of the congregation, and put off the linen garments, which he put on when he went out into the holy place, and shall leave them there. When he shall wash his flesh with water in the holy place, and put on his garments, and come forth, and offer his burnt offerings, and the burnt offerings of the people, and make an atonement for himself and for the people. And the fat of the skin offering shall he...
Of the sin offering.
Of the sin, sorry. Leviticus chapter 16, verse 25. And the fat of the sin offering shall he burn upon the altar. And he that let go the goat for the scapegoat shall wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in water, and afterwards come into the camp. And the bullock for the sin offering, and the goat for the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make an atonement in the holy place, shall one carry forth without the camp, and shall burn in the fire their skins and their flesh and their dung. And he that burneth them shall wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in water, and afterward he shall come into the camp. And in this shall be a statute forever unto you, that is the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month. Ye shall afflict your souls, and do not work at all, wherein it be one of your own country, or a stranger that sojourneth among you.
So this is dealing with the Day of Atonement, okay? The Day of Atonement, what we're supposed to do, fast for the days, and then, do what we're supposed to do in commemoration of why we need to atone for our sins and things like that each year, okay? And some will sit there and say, well, I could just sin all year round, and then all of a sudden, just wait for a Day of Atonement, and then I'm done, I'm cleansed from that. That's not how it works, okay? So all these things we have to go through. That's why Christ did the same things. He kept all the feast days. Supposed to do the same things. Day of Atonement, supposed to do the same thing. And I'm pretty well, no, because that happened on the Passover. But anyways, I was thinking about something. But anyways, these are the things that's all leading up for the Day of Atonement. So this is the order that we're supposed to do when Day of Atonement does come around. Okay, but once again, to everybody, we don't have the Ark of the Covenant. We don't have the Aaron staves. We don't have the staves to carry the Ark. We don't have the menorah. We don't have the golden utensils, the golden altar, the other altar to do all these things. Okay, but we still practice these things to have understanding. Like, hey, this is what we have to do according to the times that we get into the kingdom and things. So we can't do certain things, but as a memorization, we keep the Day of Atonement. So we inflict ourselves by fasting, no food, no water. I think it's for 2 days. I think it's 2 days or 3 days. Yeah, I if anything, I would do 3 days, because there's a lot of things dealing with in the New Testament of like Christ said, I had compassion on the multitude that was following me. They didn't eat. I cannot send them away without eating and drinking, for they were fasting for 3 days straight without food and water. Okay, so I would say 3 days, you know what I'm saying? And then it even tells you while you fast, you're supposed to wash your face before you start fasting and anoint your head. Okay, so, but continue reading.
And this shall be a statute forever unto you, that is the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month. Ye shall afflict your souls, and do not work at all, wherein it be your own country, or a stranger that sojourneth among you.
So that's a stranger, a Gentile. Look it up. It's I think it's H1616. I think it is in the Hebrew. Just look it up once when you see it and stuff. It's speaking of nations outside the nation of Israel, a Gentile. Okay, go ahead.
For on that day shall the priest make an atonement for you to cleanse you, that ye may be clean for all your sins before the Lord. It shall be a Sabbath of rest unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls by a statute forever. And the priest, whom he shall anoint, and whom he shall consecrate to minister in the priest's office in the father's stead, shall make the atonement, and put on the linen clothes, even the holy garments, and he shall make an atonement for the holy sanctuary, and he shall make an atonement for the tabernacle of the congregation, and for the altar, and he shall make an atonement for the priests, and for all people of the congregation. And he shall be an everlasting statute unto you, to make an atonement for the children of Israel, for all their sins, once a year. And he did as the Lord commanded Moses.
So that's on the scapegoat and just dealing with the atonement and everything, why we need to keep these and perform these and remind ourselves once again. So we're going to end it here. This is Leviticus. This was the whole chapter, Leviticus 16, and we'll pick back up on the next law the whole chapter, Leviticus 16, was one law in itself, okay? The next chapter we'll pick up on, next week is Leviticus chapter 17, 1 through 7. And it's dealing with where vegans, are using this scripture about not eating animals and things like that, but yet not giving a thorough understanding. But anyways, this is where they're getting this from. But anywho, I hope you guys get enough knowledge and wisdom and understanding, and I hope that we did it to the best of our ability, and that it helps, guide you guys through when you watch these videos and things. And like I said, brothers add on and things to that. Cool, bring it on out and help teach your, any brothers and sisters you come amongst with and things like that through your walk and everything, to bring forth the truth and everything for the Most High through Christ and the Holy Spirit. So, anywho, we'll build with y'all later, all right? Brother Ezekiel.
And Brother Lee.
And we'll deal with y'all later. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.